Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whatever time you see this video. Today we have a very special person with us, Mr. Chris Heron, and he will be acting as a Faust. And he is the member of prestigious magic organizations in the world, Magic Castle in the Hollywood, California, and the Magic Circle in the London, England. So welcome to the show, Mr. Chris Heron. How are you today?
Thank you very much, Srinivas. It's a pleasure to be here, and I know a lot of people haven't seen my magic before. So if I can, I would like to demonstrate at least what I do before we go on with the interview. Is that okay with you?
Perfect. Please go ahead, sir. Thank you. This is your show.
Well, just for the people out there watching, I'm a pantomime artist and a magician, and pantomime dates back to ancient Greece and the Roman Empire. It's the art of storytelling without words. So I'm going to step off screen real quick and put on some music, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you very much.
It was a wonderful, wonderful show, Mr. Chris Heron. How are you? I mean, it's a very good this thing. So you did. Can you explain more about the kind of show it is? I mean, what exactly is the method or the kind of magic you do?
Yes, absolutely. So the method that I use for my particular magic, they would describe it more like theater or visual theater. And so I enjoy the type of magic where you can tell a story. And so my magic is based on a character named Faust. And Faust was something that I created many years ago. And I have a huge inspiration behind that character. But the character in itself is a daydreamer, and what he wants to communicate to the audience is his daydreams and what he wants to be. And he is fairly a reclusive character where he experienced tragedy in his life and he's longing for change. And so I hope that the audience feels this sort of passion behind the character, and sort of that sort of energy that this character is meant to give out. And that's the standing behind Faust. But I'll tell you, Srinivas, the character in itself was inspired by my experience with cancer. And so when I was going through cancer, I had felt all sorts of emotions, and I knew that if I was going to survive, then I wanted to write about it. But writing about it wasn't necessarily my platform to express magic, or to express an art. And so I took those emotions of loneliness and struggle and desperation, and I created this character Faust based on that experience. So that's the meaning behind the character.
Very motivational and inspiring. You took your own personal experience and brought it as a story, and then expressing it in a totally different platform. Many people, they do it at either a talk show or a book, but you are coming out with a totally different way of expressing your views and your thoughts and your experience you've gone through. So, which is nice. Fundamental, I want to ask you one question. I've been asking the same question to many other magicians. So we do get different answers for them. Different perspective and different scope and so what exactly is magic? Is it a trick, or is it a illusion, or is it kind of a mind reading? What is that? An audience should expect out of a magic show, and what is a magic, and what an audience should expect out of a magic show?
Well, I could tell you that is a very, very difficult question to answer, even for magicians, because you'll get so many definitions behind what is magic. But I can tell you what magic is for me. First, for the audience, magic is the art, a performance art of wonder and astonishment. That's what the magician's job is to do, is to invoke that sort of experience with the audience. But in terms of magic for me, and the definition behind magic and why I perform it, I believe that magic is an emotional experience beyond tricks. It's that feeling of being inspired or feeling happy when you see this sort of art form being performed. And that's why I do it, is to give this experience to people. And I come out more happier and fuller if I do it in that way, instead of just trying to trick people. So I just use magic as that voice to express wonder and true magic, which is an emotional experience, a connection between the performer and the audience. And you know what, Srinivas, my teacher, would always tell me? He would always tell me that magic is this connection, and it heals. It heals people. It makes you happy. It takes you out of your day-to-day. And if I could do that just for a couple minutes of your time, then I think as a performer I've done my job. And that's what magic is for me.
Gotcha. Very nice. Nice way of saying what you do, and you explain the way how the other people react to what kind of the work you do. It's very nice. So do you want to say about your career? You did briefly told us about yourself, but we would like to know a little more about your career. Education and career, and what attracted you to the magic. What specific thing? I know you chose magic to tell your story, but why did you choose this one? Has any special event or something special occurred in your life which attracted you to this, especially the profession, and you chose that? So we'd like to hear that one from you.
Well, thank you for having that sort of interest. I know it might be boring to some people, but thank you, and I will indulge your question. So, like everyone else, I started magic very young, maybe about 5 to 7, And my family is Filipino, and they came from the Philippine Islands. And my mom and my grandmother would tell me stories of folklore, of these magical characters. And so as a young boy, I used to, imagine what these characters were like. And these characters had magical powers, obviously. But at the time, I didn't know the difference. But there was a time I seen Harry Houdini, and he was on TV. And that was the first time I had seen magic being done on the stage the way it was being done. And that, to me, I always hold it within my memory in my heart of the first time I ever felt astonished or had that feeling of wonderment. And I could tell you I don't remember what he did primarily either. I just know how I felt. So going on through my life, I had no ambition to perform. That much I can tell you. I had no ambition to perform for even the public even. But I would do kids shows just for family and friends. But I did that throughout the remainder of my life, up until I was about 35. And then that's when cancer hit. Cancer put me in this place where I can only just read about it, and I couldn't do the moves with my hands because I developed this Parkinsonian tremor. So I couldn't handle small objects. But after 10 years of recovery, 5 years of recovery, I took a class with Jeff McBride, who's a legend in the magic community. And he was in Las Vegas. And my wife had encouraged me to take this class. And, I thought I wasn't ready because in this school there are masters, true masters of the art. And here I am, just a hobbyist coming in. But I had expressed my interest to mask and magic to Jeff, who is a master at doing those art forms, because he's a mime and a magician, and he's performed all over the world. And we developed this friendship, and also a student-teacher relationship where he began to hand down, techniques and wisdom to me, and I committed myself to that art since. As far as the mask, I can show you. The mask is this, art form of pantomime. And pantomime is usually done with white makeup. But pantomime, to me, when I seen this individual, his name was Marcel Marceau, and he was very big in the 70s for a lot of people out there who know who Marceau was. He was a master at storytelling without words. And I had fell in love with the emotional feeling that I got when I had seen him. He put so much love and passion in this art, and I told myself, if I'm going to do magic, I want to do that the same way he did, so that people can feel that feeling. And so that's my inspiration behind magic. Everything I do up here is really not for me. I just hope, even if it was just you sitting there watching me, I just hope that you would be able to look at magic differently, as like poetry. And so that's what it means to me. It's an expression of life.
It's very nice and touching experience you had, and the story you have. So do you want to show something to the audience right now?
Oh, absolutely.
Please.
So I'm glad that you asked me about my inspiration. So this next trick that I'm going to perform, it's called the broken music box. And it expresses everything that I felt during cancer. So I hope you enjoy.
Sure. This is wonderful, wonderful one. It's very
I
smooth and
hope
yes, yeah.
so.
It was
Thank
very,
you.
very good show. I mean, you kind of portrayed your own story a little bit into that, and then you made the toy to come up and then dance, give the life to that one, which is very nice. Good.
Yes, Srinivas, I don't speak during my performances. So I appreciate that you've given me the time to at least try to explain what some of these things mean, because a lot of the
Sure.
times it remains a mystery to everyone. So that performance, the Broken Music Box, really is an expression of how I felt, and the vulnerability between life and death. And so I had always wondered what it would be like to take something that is broken and to bring it to life again. And so for whatever reason, this music box really spoke to me, and I couldn't take credit for that. For a good friend named Luna Shimada.
So it's very nice.
So thank you for letting me share that.
No problem. Perfect. Thank you. So, I mean, with this magic shows, usually what we have been seeing is, people you do the on a stage with the audience in their seats or in the hall. And today we have a situation is a little different. Like, COVID-19 is all over the world, and we are not able to meet another as a group. So how are you able to cope up, and how are you doing the performances? Are you mostly, how is the magic world is coping up, and how you are personally coping up, and how is this, how are you doing the shows online right now?
Well, I could tell you that is a great question, because I think for all performers, we've all been impacted in several ways, especially for the live performers. I could tell you that I knew nothing about the virtual platform before COVID-19, maybe just Skype, but as far as Zoom, I knew nothing about it. But I can tell you that I was booked for at least 6 months of live performances before this. And then slowly things started getting canceled, and my performer friends, same thing. But I know you had a guest on here by the name of Jonathan Molo. He had asked me to come on to a virtual show, and I said, well, what is that? So I said, well, I'll give it a try. And then ever since then, I am thankful to him because I was able to transition my act towards the virtual platform. So for speaking for me, Srinivas, I think that I've, pivoted to this platform, with difficulty, but I pivoted enough that I could continue performing magic on here. And I'm not so sure that's the same for a lot of performers, because the magic is best seen when it's done live, in my opinion. Even if it's on the stage at a distance. Now, my particular form of magic requires some, contact with the audience. But therein lies the challenge, is how do I connect with you through that screen? And I think you'll see a lot of great performers out there that will really demonstrate that is a possibility. And if you ever get a chance to see Jeff McBride or even have him come on here, I would tell you that the connection is fairly strong between where I'm at and you're at. Also, another person is Paul Draper. But I'll tell you this, it's not an easy task. And so that's where we're at with COVID, where you have a lot of performers still adjusting to this, platform. And the big question, Srinivas, is how long will this last? And I couldn't tell you. Some part of me wants to perform live and try to get that going, but it's a very difficult situation, as far as health and just the people around me. But yes, that's where I'm at.
That's nice. I mean, I agree. I mean, many of the, performers. I mean, they're going through the similar situation. I mean, they are transitioning to the online. Even online, I mean, more than 50% of the charitable shows and
Yeah.
be in touch and those kind of things. Very few of them were able to attend to the, I think, birthday parties and the corporate events. I mean, because we see a lot of need for these kind of things. See, I mean, when I first did, I'm not actually a very good person to attend a magic shows. I'm not very usually I'm not that kind of a guy who go and attend the magic shows. So
Yeah.
but when I had the first show, myself realized, I mean, magic is something which is like, I mean, I would say 4D kind of a thing. It's not a 2D or 3D, it's a 4D. I mean,
Yes.
you get connected with the audience, and you also involve the audience into your show. So it's not that you're performing and you're also pulling the audience into the show. So with that, I mean, the audience also will forget about their thoughts or their worries for a few minutes. They focus on this particular thing. So you take them to different world for a few minutes. That kind of gives them relaxation, relief. So I've seen that one in the last few shows. So I totally appreciate the kind of work, I mean, all magicians across the world, they do. And even the small, even online shows are also creating a little, bring the relief. I've seen a lot of corporations bringing the online shows into their monthly or quarterly meetings. I mean, the reason is, if everybody is stressed out at home, let it be financial, let it be work basis, let it be household chores. So with all these things, everybody is stressed out. So I'm sure magic show will give some relief to the either employees or the kids
Yes.
or social groups for sure. So with this thing, I would like to ask you, is there anything else? I mean, do you want to show our audience?
Absolutely. I
Sure.
have one more thing to show you guys.
Sure.
But I wanted to touch on what you said. That you could watch magic at a very analytical, perspective, but sometimes it's just good to enjoy. And my objective here is not to fool you. I just want you to come into my world for just a couple minutes, and then I'll put you back. But anyway, Srinivas, this is my final performance for you guys, and it's called The Toast. And it's my toast to everyone out there on SCube TV, as well as India and Michigan. So I hope you enjoy.
To regret, kept my lips wet with your same old safe bed, and you had your head high and your tears dry. Get on without you, guy. I went back to what I knew. So far removed from all that we went through, and you to tread to drag your odds are slack, and you go back to black. We only say goodbye with words. You died 100 times. And I go back to her, and you'll go back to, you'll go back to black. I love people and you love her. And life is like a pie, tiny penny rolling up the walls inside. We only said goodbye with words. You died 100 times, and I go back to her, and you go back to me. We only say goodbye with words. You died 100 times. I go back to her, and you go back to me. You go back to that.
Wonderful, wonderful show. I mean, that was a very good show. I mean, you kind of disappear, made the liquid disappear and then come back. That's very nice.
Thank you very much. And all I care about is if you enjoyed or not. That's all
For
I care
sure.
about.
I mean, for sure. I mean, see, I mean, as I told you earlier, the magic shows, I mean, see, other shows, probably you can let your mind wander on something else, somewhere else. But when you are attending a magic show, at least for a few minutes, I mean, you need to focus on what exactly you're trying to do and are trying to show. So we have to focus for sure. So that was,
Yeah.
I totally enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. And you know what? I'm the same way. My attention span is really fast. So I need something very visual to follow. And I guess my magic reflects that, is that I need to see this, sort of, performance occurring visually. If there's too much talking, then, I lose, maybe I'm not that smart, but I lose, the following of the whole story. So, but thank you, Srinivas.
No problem. I have a few more points to ask you. So, can you tell us about the PCAM, first gold medal award? What is that?
Oh, yes. So, there was a time where I wasn't getting any, shows or bookings, or no one was calling me. So I told myself that I wanted to at least compete if I wasn't getting any sort of bookings or shows for work. So I said, well, I just need to perform to test this material out. So in 2018, I signed up for this convention called the Pacific Coast Association of Magicians, and it was held in Bakersfield, California. And there was a lot of talent there from the Magic Castle in Hollywood. And I competed in a division called Parlor Magic. And so at the time, my character was in its very early phases. But what you see, what I'm doing now is almost a more polished or refined version of what I did in the beginning. And fortunately, I had won my division doing that act in a mask. I don't think I was wearing a hat at the time. And I was doing an act where I was floating a handkerchief around. And that's a very difficult thing, but I said, if I'm going to, compete, I have to put it all out on the table. And although I don't do that act just because of its difficulty, I came up with, a variation of it. And, someday I'll show you that. But yes, so ever since the 2018 PCAM award, I went on to win it in 2019 in the Philippines, and I competed there. But I'm thankful to the Pacific Coast Association of Magicians because from there, a lot of people started asking me to come on shows, which was my objective. So I've been fortunate enough to be blessed with winning and won, just meeting great people all around.
Very nice. Congratulations, and then good to hear the success after, I mean, success at the PCAM and after that too. I want to ask you one thing. I mean, generally, I mean, we see, I mean, magicians when they go perform, I mean, during the period of, I mean, course of time, they do encounter few things. One is, I mean, one is a very good experience. I mean, well, let one show at one place because of the audience or something at the show. You feel that, oh, okay, I did very good and I'm feeling very happy, and you're satisfied. You feel so. Do you want to share any of that kind of moment? I mean, which you had in last
Oh,
few
yes.
years of your magic experiences?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I've had both good and both bad, you know, and I think as far as any performer will tell you that. But I'll start off with something very good. You know, I think it was in about 2018, my mentor and my hero in magic, Jeff McBride, had asked me to perform in Las Vegas at his club called the Wonderground. And it was very special to me because this was my hero and still is. And he did the mask and everything, and I was so nervous about going on there because when I looked at who was in the audience, I saw some great magicians in there. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this is a lot of pressure to do. You know, and I knew at the time, even in 2018, I knew I wasn't as polished as I was now. But Jeff, being the teacher that he is, he knew how to push me out of my comfort zone so that I could excel. So I was in the backstage of the Wonderground, and he performed his signature act with his cards and masks, and everyone was just screaming, and then it was almost to a high-pitched level. And I'm sitting in the back, and here he is introducing me. And he introduced me as, this is Chris Heron as Faust. This is his Las Vegas debut. And then I just, you know, sort of went into a haze, and I felt emotional at that point because, you know, magic has been an unexpected journey for me. I never knew that everything would lead up to this point where I watched him on TV, and now here I am many years later performing next to him on stage. And out of all the performances, I remember that one most because it was just a dreamlike state for me. I don't even know how well I did when I performed, but it was my very first big show. And then from then on, I knew that was what I wanted to do from there. But Serini, on the contrast of that, on the contrast of stories and experiences, I had an experience where, as you know, I play my act to music, and my whole music went out, and I had no music, and I was at the final, you know, performance of my act, and you know, I thought to myself, well, now it's really going to be a pantomime act because there's no sound. But I went through it. At the time, I had felt very, very, you know, like I had failed. But after reflecting and hearing what all the other magicians had told me, you know, overcoming that obstacle is a huge part of being a professional and how I handled it. And I can tell you that in almost every performance, something goes wrong. And so it really doesn't bother me anymore, you know. So that I've learned a lot through the years.
Very, very nice. I mean, actually, that's the second portion. The first one is very good. I mean, we a good story, and you had your dream show in your life. That's a Las Vegas show. And the second one is true to for everybody in all fields. I mean, whenever you go for a demo, I mean, something goes wrong technically. I mean, that's where I mean your maturity should come up, and then see how to overcome those kind of things. And not everything will work the way you plan. So that's not true in our normal life too. So that shows. I mean, yeah, it's a life lesson or life technique or whatever you call it as. So I want to ask you one more thing, Chris. So what do you do other than the magic? I mean, in your life. I mean, what are your hobbies? I mean, do you do any other work or any other hobbies or activities apart from the magic?
Well, apart from magic, I also lecture. I
Uh-huh.
lecture on pantomime. I'm not
Okay.
so much magic, but I'm beginning to, because my heart is really into pantomime and drama and that sort of performance art. But that's what I do outside of magic, but I believe that everything is interrelated to, being on stage because I want to express my whole life on this stage. So I take great joy in taking on students who are interested in learning about movement and gestures. And it also has allowed me to do some research as to how I can connect with people on the other side of the screen. And so that's what I've been doing. But, as far as magic, this is, as you can see, this is where I live, and it's my life.
Very nice, very nice. And what do you suggest to the young magicians or aspiring magicians? I mean, there are many kids. So you also said that you've been listening to the magician stories at the age of 5 years. I'm sure even today, I mean, the 5-year-old and 6-year-old and 7-year-old young kids, I mean, they will be looking at the magic shows and also looking at the hearing about the magic magicians, and they will be aspiring to become a magician one day. So what do you suggest young kids?
As far as advice, you mean? I think, well, it's perfectly okay to learn magic as a hobby. It's perfectly okay to do it for fun. But if you want to take it as a career or even do it professionally, I think my best advice to a young magician who really wants to take this seriously is to find a teacher who is a master at the art of magic. And for me, it always goes back to Jeff McBride, because he had accomplished everything that I aspire to. And so that through that, I was able to take on knowledge beyond the books and to really find what it is that creates a magical experience, because it is more than just tricks. And so I think you need to find a mentor if that is the route that you want to take. But other than that, there's nothing wrong with just doing magic for fun and doing it to please your friends and whatnot. But just like any craft or trade, you need to study from a master in order to truly excel. Just like going to school, you learn from your professors. And I think magic is no different in that respect. Sorry, I think I got you on mute or something, or this. Can you
Oh,
hear?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I said, I mean, yeah, we were happy to see your shows. We enjoyed it thoroughly. And sorry, and we also, it was good to hear your story, touching story. So I would like to ask you, I mean, is there anything which you want to share or talk, give a message to the audience or talk, say anything to them right
well,
now?
how about this, Sridivas? I have one more that I hardly ever show, And because I had such a great time and you guys invited me on, I'd like to share it with you, if that's
It'll be nice.
okay. And
Oh yeah,
then
sure. Please go ahead.
and I really hope everyone enjoys. So this last performance is called Learning the Ropes, and it's about life and just what we talked about, successes and failures. Enjoy. Thank you very much.
Very good. But thank you very much for showing your talent on the shows. I mean, sharing your knowledge with us. And anything else you want to say to the audience?
Yes, thank you very much. And I know this is broadcasting pretty much all over the world. So if you really enjoy my magic, follow me on Facebook and Instagram. My website is www.chrisheronmagic.com. And thank you to SQTV and you, Srinivas, for being such a lovely host. And I really hope you enjoyed my magic.
Yes, we thoroughly enjoyed it, Mr. Chris, and have a nice rest of the day and wish you all the best. Thank you. Have a nice day.